My roommate is sloppy and doesn't pay attention to hygiene. Throughout her entire period, she actually only used one sanitary pad. Blood got all over her underwear. Not only did she not wash her pants, but she also stuffed the bloody underwear under her pillow. The roommate sharing the dorm tried to dissuade her. "Sarah, could you please wash the pants you've taken off? The smell is really strong, and it's so unhygienic." But Sarah just rolled her eyes at us. "This is called frugality, okay? Washing all the clothes together saves laundry detergent. We city girls have no idea about the hardships of the poor." Every day, my other roommates and I clean our private areas, using small basins for washing. Sarah then spoke again in a sarcastic tone. "Hey! You guys aren't coming down with some nasty disease, are you? My mom says only loose women wash their butts every day. A proper young lady like me only needs to wash once a month when she takes a bath." Once, Sarah went out drinking. He returned to the dorm late at night and ended up wetting the bed while asleep. Not only did she not clean it up, she actually used a quilt to soak up the water and then went back to sleep. My other roommates and I could no longer tolerate Sarah's messiness. We all ran to the dorm advisor to request a room change. But Sarah played the victim first, accusing us of looking down on her for being from a poor family. She claimed we were collectively bullying and isolating her. As a result, the three of us roommates not only failed to change rooms but even received disciplinary action from the school. As graduation approached, the other three of us in our dorm studied like crazy every day. Finally, we made it into graduate school. Only Sarah fooled around all day and even secretly brought her boyfriend back to the dorm. Failing to get into graduate school, she angrily added paraquat to our drinks. After being reborn, I happened to meet the eyes of my other two roommates. "Huh. It seems like everyone is back. Luna, what are you doing with such a small basin? I see you washing there every day. EW. That's so gross." Sarah's voice, tinged with a hint of mockery, startled me, sending a sudden shiver through my body. In my previous life, my death was exceptionally painful. I vomited blood, and the pain in my gut was worse than being crushed by pliers. I suddenly opened my eyes wide, just in time to meet the gazes of my roommates, Luna and Doris. Luna was holding a small blue basin, about to fetch water to wash her bottom. Doris sat by my bedside, explaining advanced mathematics to me. Suddenly, Doris's body trembled violently, and tears instantly welled up in her eyes. Luna also accidentally knocked over the basin of water, spilling it all over the floor. The three of us looked up, our eyes meeting one another. Suddenly, a sense of tacit understanding dawned on me. We have all been reborn. Sarah was still asking us sarcastically. "Hey! What's going on? Why is everyone so quiet? Luna, I've noticed you wash your bottom every night. Tiffany, Doris, you two do the same. Oh! You're not suffering from some dirty disease, are you? My mom said only improper women wash their bottoms every day. A proper young lady like me only needs to bathe once a month." Sarah proudly shared his bizarre theory. In my past life, Sarah had also spoken to us in that sarcastic tone. Luna, being kind-hearted, tried to explain it to her. "Sarah, girls must pay attention to hygiene. The private area must be cleaned every day. Otherwise, girls are very prone to getting sick. Moreover, cleaning with plain water every day will not disrupt the pH balance. Cleaning too vigorously is also not good for girls." However, what Luna said didn't even register in Sarah's mind. Not only that, she also anonymously posted a thread on the school forum. Furious at the fact that my dorm room is occupied by 3 despicable women. Sarah claimed in the post that we all contracted a disease, feigning vulnerability to ask everyone how she should protect herself and avoid being infected by us. The school is already small, and soon, Luna and I, along with others, were exposed by fellow students. No matter how hard we tried to explain, no one believed us. In fact, every night, several of us would receive harassing messages from male students at the same school. "Hey girl, how much do you charge? Come for a night, I want all three of you together. You're so slutty. Let Big Brother hold you." We reported this matter to the counselor. Little did we expect that the counselor turned out to be Sarah's distant aunt. Not only did the counselor not stand up for us, but she also criticized us harshly, telling us to look for the reasons within ourselves. Although the post on the forum was later taken down, Luna, Doris, and I, the three of us, received occasional harassing messages throughout our entire 4 years of college. For a full 4 years, no boys dared to pursue us. The three of us have completely turned into single aristocrats. At this moment, Sarah is still talking nonstop. "You city girls are just dirty. Doing that kind of thing at such a young age, it's unclean and impure. Not like me. My mom always told me since I was little. It's better for girls to be a bit more pure. Pure girls don't need to wash down there every day. Like me, washing once a month during my bath is enough. Oh no! That kind of illness you have won't spread to me, will it?" At this moment, Luna stood frozen in place for several minutes. Immediately after, she could no longer hold back. Luna walked up to Sarah and grabbed her hair frantically. "You foul-mouthed wretch, what nonsense are you spouting? Do you believe I'll cut you down?" Luna was originally the most gentle among the three of us. Now, she has completely erupted. Sarah was caught off guard by the beating, screaming in agony. "Luna, have you lost your mind? You're bullying me, you're insane. I'm going to report you to the instructor." Seeing the situation, Doris and I immediately stood up. We separated Luna and Sarah. Of course, we weren't afraid of Sarah reporting to the instructor. The most important thing was that we had finally been given this chance at rebirth. We absolutely must not add unnecessary complications now. Even if it's about revenge, at least think of a thorough method. After Luna and Sarah were separated by us, Sarah stormed out of the dormitory angrily, and I knew she must have gone to find her aunt. Until Sarah had completely left. Luna's eyes welled up with tears as she turned to look at us. "Tiffany, Doris, are you two also?" Doris and I nodded heavily. Immediately after, the three of us hugged each other and burst into tears. The three of us in our past lives died far too tragically. Throughout our 4 years of university, none of the three of us ever dated. We spent our days together, buried in the library. All three of us came from ordinary families. Luna's parents were workers in a textile mill, my father was a taxi driver, and my mother was also a female worker in a food factory. As for Doris, both of her parents work on construction sites. The three of us are well aware of the importance of studying. We read and practiced problems relentlessly every day, all for the sake of passing the postgraduate entrance exam. In our previous lives, on the day the postgraduate exam results were released, Luna, Doris, and I were all exceptionally excited. However, Sarah walked into the dormitory with a dark expression on his face. "I saw the admission list, and all three of you are on it. It's so easy for the city girls to pull strings and effortlessly take the spots meant for us poor students. There are 4 of us in the dorm. Although Luna, Doris, and I are all registered as urban residents, we come from ordinary families. Only Sarah came from a rural background. However, she was also the only child in her family, occupying a spot for financially disadvantaged students, though her life was not particularly tight. Luna, Doris, and I had been striving for the postgraduate entrance exam for a good half a year. In contrast, Sarah had a boyfriend from outside the university. She was either on dates every day or hanging out with a group of men at bars. Hearing this, the rest of us awkwardly fell silent. Sarah, however, waved the milk tea in her hand. My boyfriend bought it for me. I'm treating everyone to drinks. Sarah gave each of us a cup of lemonade. Originally, none of us wanted to drink it. Sarah, however, broke down and erupted on the spot. You all just look down on me. My family is poor, I'm a student from a low-income background, I can't afford expensive milk tea, so I can only treat you to lemon water. Originally, with graduation just around the corner, I just wanted to celebrate with you all. But if you look down on me, so be it. Sarah deliberately left the dormitory door wide open, and her frantic screams drew the attention of classmates in the hallway, who kept peeking into our room. For 4 whole years of college, we were almost tormented by her. We had no choice but to reluctantly accept the lemonade, and everyone awkwardly started drinking it. However, the taste of that lemonade was strange, with a slight bitterness to it. Until Luna, Doris, and I suffered unbearable stomach pain and fell to the ground one after another. Sarah wore a sinister grin as she snatched away our phones, preventing us from calling 120. Watching us writhing in pain on the ground, Sarah kicked our bodies again and again. Why should you be the ones to succeed? I fell short by over 50 points. It must be because you had connections. You city folks just look down on me. I'm telling you, I added paraquat to today's drinks. You're all doomed. Dare to bully me, and none of you will survive. In my previous life, Luna, Doris, and I died exactly like this. After we died, Sarah denied poisoning us. Also said that paraquat was brought back from her rural hometown, originally placed under the bed, and put in a beverage bottle to kill cockroaches. It was because we were greedy and mistook paraquat for a beverage, stealing and drinking her stuff. Moreover, the counselor is her aunt. The counselor said a lot of good things for Sarah, saying that she is a poor student with excellent grades in school. Also said that Luna, Doris, and I have poor character from the start. Said that we engage in promiscuous relationships, bully roommates, and harass classmates. In the end, the tragic deaths of the 3 of us were simply brushed aside under such operations. Meanwhile, Sarah stepped over our corpses to secure a spot for graduate school admission and went on to pursue his studies happily. Thinking back to all the events of our past lives, Luna, Doris, and I couldn't help but let the flames of hatred blaze in our eyes. Luna cried so hard that she could hardly catch her breath. Why did you stop me just now? Why didn't you let me kill that murderer? I am the only child in my family. If I die, my parents simply wouldn't be able to go on living. It's all because of Sarah. I'm going to kill her. I said. Luna, this time we need to be a bit more careful. Since we want to get back at them, we need to plan this out properly. As I spoke, Luna, Doris, and I began discussing ideas. About 10 minutes later, Sarah returned to the dormitory. She gave Luna a provocative look, her face beaming with smug satisfaction. Sure enough, just 2 minutes later, Luna's phone rang with a call from the instructor. As soon as the instructor started speaking, she unleashed a torrent of harsh scolding on Luna. Luna, come to my office tomorrow. Finding fault with me late at night. You girls nowadays are simply out of control. After Luna hung up the phone, Sarah sat on her bed, typing nonstop on her phone. Sure enough, before long, we saw a post on the school forum that was exactly the same as the one from our previous life. However, this time, Sarah didn't just accuse the 3 of us of being unclean. She also directly pointed at Luna, saying that Luna has a mental illness and is a violent maniac. At this moment, Luna, Doris, and I created a small group chat. The 3 of us hid under the covers, discussing in the small group chat. Since Sarah is so eager to smear us, we should certainly let her get what she wants. The bullet still needs to fly a little longer. Early the next morning, Luna went to the office to find the counselor. Since I happened to be the class life committee member, I had just collected a sum of class funds. Carrying the account book, I also walked into the office, ready to report to the counselor. As soon as I entered the office door, I saw the instructor reach out and point at Luna's head. With a face like a vixen, you really do those indecent things. It's only been a few days since the semester started, and you're already beating up classmates in the dorm. Go back immediately and write a 20,000-word self-criticism. After you finish, read it aloud in front of the whole class and apologize to Sarah. Otherwise, I'll call your parents and have them take you back. You might as well not continue with your studies. Seeing this, I spoke up softly from the side. Advisor, you are truly too kind. Luna made such a serious mistake, and you're only asking him to write a self-criticism. Instructor Kathy heard my words and looked at me with great surprise. Only then did she remember. Right, Tiffany, you share a dorm with Sarah and Luna. What exactly happened last night? Why didn't you stop Luna from hitting her classmate? I said with a pitiful expression. Advisor, we tried to stop them. When we separated the two of them, I even got a scratch on my arm. As I spoke, I glanced sideways and glared at Luna. I said again. Advisor, I think this matter is particularly serious. Just after the start of the semester, Luna is already bullying a student from a poor family. How are we supposed to get along with someone like that in the future? In my opinion, if you don't deal with her severely this time, we won't dare to live in the dormitory anymore. Upon hearing my words, the advisor nodded with satisfaction. Absolutely. This matter should indeed be dealt with seriously. It's just that. I immediately made a suggestion. Advisor, next week. We're going to have the welcome assembly in the auditorium, right? Back then, there were many people, and all the freshmen would be present. I think it would be better to have Luna write a self-criticism and publicly apologize to Sarah at the welcome assembly. Otherwise, it would be a great injustice to Sarah. Upon hearing my words, the counselor immediately made a decision. Yes, this matter must be dealt with seriously. Luna, you need to quickly write your self-criticism. By next Monday, when our school holds the welcome assembly, you will read your self-criticism in front of all the freshmen and apologize to classmate Sarah. Upon hearing this, Luna could only nod resentfully. After leaving the office, Luna and I exchanged a knowing smile and gave each other an okay sign. Soon after, the post on the campus forum began to gain traction. This time, Luna, Doris, and I didn't offer any explanations or defenses. We even secretly spent money to buy a lot of followers to repost these posts everywhere. In just 2 short days, the number of likes on that post in our school forum has already reached over 100,000. Even on TikTok, Sarah's posts are everywhere. As for the information about me, Luna, and Doris, it was, of course, quickly dug up by our schoolmates. In this lifetime, the messages we received on our phones were even more disgusting than in the previous one. But we didn't respond to any of them. Instead, we let these classmates continue their insults. We collected all the information and organized it into evidence. In the blink of an eye, the day of the welcome party arrived. All the freshmen, totaling over 1,000 people, were there, including many school leaders. At first, students from other departments performed a few songs and dances. When it was our department's turn, Luna, holding a letter of self-criticism, walked shakily onto the stage. At this moment, Sarah sat in the audience, looking utterly smug. Luna held the microphone. She read the apology letter with trembling hands. Here, I want to say sorry to my dorm mate, Sarah. Classmate Sarah is right, I shouldn't wash my butt every day. Such a girl is not pure. All female students should learn from classmate Sarah, taking a bath only once a month and washing their butts only during that time. Girls who wash their butts every night are definitely not clean. Here, I want to solemnly apologize to classmate Sarah. I was wrong, I'll definitely wash my butt less in the future. Originally, Sarah held her chin high with pride. When Luna first stepped onto the stage, Sarah even deliberately stood up so that all the students in the grade could see her. Who would have thought that Luna's apology letter would be written so grandly? Of course, this apology letter was jointly written by me, Luna, and Doris. Since we need to apologize, of course, we must clearly explain the whole story from beginning to end. Luna rehearsed in the dormitory for a whole day in advance, and with tears in her eyes, she had this apology letter memorized backwards and forwards. In the auditorium, all the freshmen heard Luna's apology letter. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Immediately, thunderous laughter erupted throughout the entire auditorium. Everyone's gaze instantly turned towards Sarah. For a moment, the entire auditorium was not only filled with everyone's uproarious laughter. The word but seemed to echo endlessly in the air. The issue originally arose because of personal hygiene. In my previous life, because the girls in our dormitory were too thin-skinned. Even after explaining to the end, we couldn't clear our names. This time, Luna, Doris, and I have discussed it. Everyone has a bottom, so what's so embarrassing about talking about washing it? Now is a new era, and girls should not feel ashamed of menstruation. It's even more important to pay attention to personal hygiene. Since Sarah claims that girls who wash their private parts are impure, why not bring this matter to light and let everyone judge for themselves? Should this area be washed at all, and if so, how exactly should it be done? Originally, Sarah stood up proudly, wanting to introduce himself to all the freshmen in the grade. This time, her dream truly came true. All the classmates were talking about Sarah's name. Even the school leaders knew about it. It turned out that Sarah wouldn't let girls wash his butt. Upon hearing Luna's letter of self-criticism, the instructor's face flushed red and pale with anger. She hurriedly ran onto the stage and snatched the mask from Luna's hands. However, in front of so many students and school leaders, the counselor couldn't say anything publicly and could only glare fiercely at Luna, as if seeking revenge. Just then, a group of police officers suddenly rushed into the school's main auditorium. Several police officers approached the school leaders, claiming that a student from our school had reported an incident. At that moment, Luna, standing on the podium, was waving her arms high in the air. "Officer, I'm the one who called the police. I want to report that someone is maliciously slandering me online. The spread has already reached over 100,000 views. I have all the evidence on my phone." At the same time, Doris and I rushed over to the group of police officers. And us, we also reported it to the police. The person who maliciously posted is Sarah. We are now going to sue Sarah for spreading rumors, infringing on our reputation rights, and insulting our character. Sarah was taken away by the police comrades in the auditorium. Naturally, the three of us who reported it were also asked to leave, along with our class advisor and school leaders. After everyone was taken away, it was because of me, Luna, and Doris that the evidence provided was sufficient. The post on the school forum is still pinned at the top and has not been deleted. Below the post, there are nothing but offensive and vulgar comments from classmates directed at us. Including the three of us, we have also received countless explicit text messages on our phones. Originally, Sarah had flatly denied it. "What post? I don't know anything about it. It definitely wasn't me who posted it." But nowadays, technology is so advanced. Just by checking the IP address in the background, it was clear that the post had been published from Sarah's phone. Originally, we had wanted to use this opportunity to teach Sarah a lesson. After all, spreading rumors and causing trouble on such a wide scale carries legal responsibility. But it was completely unexpected. Sarah's ID card showed that she was still 1 month short of turning 18. The main issue was that the counselor was biased in her favor, constantly playing the sympathy card and claiming that Sarah was a financially disadvantaged student. And since we were all freshmen, the school leadership didn't want to stir up trouble, fearing it would tarnish the school's reputation. Finally, after mediation by the police, we reached a settlement with Sarah. Sarah needed to delete the post, apologize to us publicly, and also post a video online showing his face to apologize to us. At the same time, the school leadership also agreed to award a scholarship to me, Luna, and Doris. All three of us come from ordinary families, and university tuition is not cheap. This scholarship is equivalent to 3 years of our tuition fees. In the end, we had no choice but to compromise. After the incident of washing the buttocks, Sarah was still in the same dormitory with us. She was just as slovenly as she had been in her previous life. Every time Sarah had her period, for a full 4 or 5 days, she would use only one sanitary pad. The smell on her was foul and fishy, making the entire dorm room reek of stinky hairtail. Her bedsheet hadn't been changed for an entire semester. Every time her underwear got stained with blood, not only did she not wash it, she actually stuffed the bloody underwear under her pillow. Her pillow was much higher than an ordinary person's, and it was filled entirely with bloody underwear. Not only that, but her bedsheets and duvet covers were also gray. They were worn shiny from friction and full of odors. The trash can under her bed was overflowing with garbage, spilling all over the floor. The trash can itself had even fermented, with many insect eggs growing inside. Because of Sarah's hygiene issues, the entire dormitory was filled with a foul smell. We had told her countless times, but Sarah didn't care at all. "Could you please not meddle in other people's affairs so much? I use fewer sanitary pads because I'm frugal. Unlike you city kids, who are always extravagant and have no idea how to live within your means. Why wash the sheets and pillowcases so often? Laundry detergent is expensive, you know? Moreover, how come I didn't smell anything in the dorm? Clearly, you're just pretending, acting like dogs with your noses. What a bunch of nonsense." Doris was so angry with Sarah that she nearly fainted. Taking advantage of Sarah's absence from the dorm, Doris vented her frustrations wildly. "She's practically a lunatic. They keep talking about their rural background. I grew up in the countryside too. Country kids are incredibly particular about cleanliness. My grandmother's stove is wiped clean every single day, so spotless it reflects light. Sarah is practically a lunatic. Because of her, our dorm got points deducted again today. And I have a pollen allergy that flares up every spring. Our dorm room. If we don't open the window, it's like a chemical weapon. If we open it, pollen blows in. She's practically trying to kill me all over again." Hearing this, a sudden idea came to me. If I remember correctly, tonight is probably the day Sarah wets the bed. And Doris is indeed allergic to pollen. If she comes into contact with even a little pollen, her arms and back will break out in small red rashes. In severe cases, the rash can even spread to her face, causing unbearable itching. I said to Doris with a hint of embarrassment. "Doris, could you bear with it for a while? Let's use a bitter flesh strategy, though you might have to suffer a bit." The three of us discussed in the dormitory and decided that tonight we must teach Sarah a lesson. Sarah had started dating a boyfriend from outside the school. In my previous life, I had met that man a few times. He was in his 40s, but he was a real oddball. Tonight, Sarah went to a nightclub with her boyfriend. They drank until they were completely drunk and didn't return until almost 9 p.m. Around 9 p.m. Sarah returned to the dormitory reeking of alcohol. She took off her coat, didn't bother to wash it, and just turned over to sleep. Meanwhile, Luna and I ordered flowers online in advance in the afternoon. A few of us squeezed the flowers into juice, and Doris endured the humiliation. She applied the flower juice on her arms, legs, and even part of her face. At 10 p.m., Sarah wet the bed. She wet the bed in a daze. Then she opened her eyes but didn't change the sheets or clean up. She actually placed the quilt directly on the yellow liquid part. After soaking up the liquid on the bed, she then lay down and continued to sleep soundly. In my previous life, at around 10 o'clock, I was still working on review materials. Seeing Sarah in that scene made me so nauseous that I went to the bathroom and vomited for a full half hour. It was the same quilt, and Sarah never washed it. Until the day we were poisoned after getting into graduate school, Sarah was still using that same yellow quilt. This time, I forcefully suppressed the physical nausea. Then, I gave Doris a look. Immediately after, Doris lay on her own bunk, breathing heavily in large gasps. "No, I feel terrible, I think I'm going to die. Did someone poison me? Hurry up and call 120. Doris cried out in agony. When Luna and I heard this, I was responsible for calling the instructor and the school leaders. Luna directly dialed 120. By the time the 120 ambulance stopped downstairs, all the students in the dormitory building were startled. A group of people in white coats, carrying a stretcher, rushed into our dormitory building and headed straight for our room. When the white coats pushed open the door to our room, the strong smell in the dormitory made the doctor comrade step back repeatedly. At this moment, the doorway of our dormitory was crowded with onlooking classmates. Everyone who saw the scene inside our dormitory covered their noses, choked by the smell. I rushed up to the person in the white coat and said, completely broken, "Hurry up and save her, Doris in our dorm is about to die." Doris has a weak constitution, and it just so happens that Sarah in our dorm is extremely unhygienic. Her bed is covered with blood-stained underwear, and the trash can is full of maggots. Just now, she even wet the bed. It was this smell that choked Doris until she passed out. Luna also said, "Yes. Doris is covered in rashes all over her body. It must be a bacterial infection. Hurry and save her, or it could be a matter of life and death." In no time, our class advisor and the department head also arrived at the scene. At this moment, Sarah was still unconscious. Upon entering our dorm room, the 4 beds presented a stark contrast, with Sarah's bed standing out distinctly from the other 3. Our side of the room was clean and bright, while Sarah's bed was dark and yellowish. The smell alone was enough to knock someone out 3 times over. In no time, Sarah became famous throughout the entire dormitory building. Early the next morning, a fellow dorm mate shared Sarah's bizarre story on the campus forum. Sarah thus gained countless nicknames: Bedwetting Sister, Bloody Pants Girl, Maggot Queen. As for Doris, her condition was not very serious. She took some oral anti-allergy medication and would be discharged from the hospital in no more than 2 days. Because Sarah's situation was too bizarre, and there were so many witnesses at the scene at the time, the school took emergency measures regarding Sarah's situation. Not only did the dorm supervisor issue a disciplinary action against Sarah, but they also ordered our counselor to come to the dormitory every day to inspect her personal hygiene. If there were any further instances of hygiene noncompliance, Sarah would be expelled from the dormitory. To our great surprise, even after resorting to the bitter flesh strategy, we still couldn't manage to drive Sarah out. During this period, we also applied several times to change dormitories, but each time our counselor blocked the request. The reason for the refusal was, of course, the same as in my previous life. They said we were ganging up to bully classmates and pick on students from poor families. There was no other way. Luna, Doris, and I had to be extra careful when we were in the dorm, afraid that the tragedy from our past lives would repeat itself. Before we knew it, the school's National Day holiday break was approaching. In my previous life, during the National Day holiday at school, since Luna, Doris, and I were all locals, we all chose to go home for the holiday. Only Sarah was left alone in the dormitory. When we returned after the holiday, I discovered that my cosmetics had been tampered with. The bedsheet and duvet cover also showed obvious signs of having been used. Luna lost a watch, and Doris's white face towel had even turned black. Afterwards, we only heard about it from a girl in the neighboring dorm. During the National Day holiday, Sarah actually brought an older man back to our dorm. But in our previous life, we struggled because we had no evidence. Although some of our belongings were damaged, their value wasn't high. So, the matter had to be dropped once again. This time, I brought back my newly purchased laptop from home in advance. Luna also placed her 3,000 yuan scholarship under her pillow. And Doris, she specifically bought a hidden camera aimed directly at her bedside. The day before the holiday, we all said, "Great, the holiday is finally here, we can go home." Sarah raised his eyebrows and asked us thoughtfully, "What? Are you all going home for the National Day holiday? So the dorm will be left with just me?" Doris nodded and said, "Both Tiffany and I live close to the school. It takes about 2 hours to get home by subway. Although Luna's home is in the suburbs, it can be reached by car in 3 to 4 hours. The National Day holiday is a 7-day-long break, so of course we have to go back. We won't return until school starts." Upon hearing this, Sarah was beaming with joy. He even urged us to pack our luggage and told us to hurry up and leave. After packing our luggage, we each went home for the holiday. On October 3rd, Luna, Doris, and I coincidentally gathered together again. This time, it wasn't just the three of us. There was also a professional live streaming team. Doris's cousin is a major internet celebrity who usually posts lifestyle and funny videos online, with hundreds of thousands of followers. This time, Doris specifically asked her sister to come to our school dormitory to film a video. Because Doris's cousin is a graduate student at our school, she happens to be able to enter and leave our campus freely. This time, Doris's cousin wrote 2 scripts related to dormitories. She also wants a few of us to cooperate with her as temporary actors. On October 3rd, we returned to the dormitory in a grand manner. We were live streaming the entire way back to school. After all, those big influencers don't just upload videos usually. When working, they also live stream and incidentally do some product promotion or something. We raise our phones high, interacting with fans as we go. Then, we arrived at the entrance of our dormitory. As soon as we reached the door, we heard a deafening noise coming from inside the room. The sounds were a mix of male and female voices, moaning and groaning. The netizens on the phone, hearing this commotion, immediately erupted into chaos. And we still pretended to be unaware and explained. "Dear netizens, you must have misheard. We are a dormitory of 4, and now there is only 1 girl left in the room. The sounds you heard might just be background noise." As I spoke, I energetically pushed open the dormitory door. Immediately, the scene before me was enough to make one's nose bleed. Sarah and a man in his 40s were both scantily clad, having a wild time. The most shocking part was that they were actually on my bed. At the same time, the entire dormitory was in complete disarray, littered with trash and takeout boxes. It was clearly visible to the naked eye that my laptop had disappeared. The drawer that Luna had locked was also opened. Additionally, all the cosmetic containers on my dressing table had their lids removed. What's more, Sarah was even wearing a pair of pure white cotton socks on his feet. Those socks actually belonged to Doris. This entire scene was broadcast live to all the viewers in the streaming room. The netizens on the phone were all in an uproar. Not only that, but Doris let out a sudden scream. "Ah! Sarah, why is my gold necklace around your neck? You even stole and wore my socks, you pervert." I also shouted. "You brought a man back to the dorm, fine. But why did you have to sleep in my bed? Where is my laptop? Why did you touch my makeup? Luna immediately rushed to her own bed, lifted the pillow, and found that 3,000 yuan in cash was missing. "Where's my money?" "That was my living expenses for next semester." A full 3,000 yuan, enough to file a case. Although that middle-aged man in his 40s was quite cunning. He put his pants over his head and ran off bare-bottomed. However, his appearance was still seen by the vast number of livestream viewers. As for Sarah, he didn't even manage to run away and was directly pinned to the ground by Doris and Luna. I immediately called the police. In no time, the officers arrived. Since we had solid evidence, there was surveillance footage of Doris's bed. The phone was just live streaming moments ago. Many netizens had chosen to record the screen. As for Sarah damaging our property, she stole 3,000 yuan from Luna, destroyed my laptop worth over 6,000 yuan, and stole Doris's gold necklace. On top of that, there were so many of our personal belongings. The total value of all these items far exceeds 20,000 yuan. That's more than enough to file a case. Sarah has already reached the age of 18. The Public Security Bureau immediately took her into custody. The scene from the live broadcast just now has also been widely spread by netizens. Our school has gained nationwide fame because of such an eccentric student like Sarah. The school has taken emergency measures regarding the Sarah incident. Due to her unauthorized act of bringing her boyfriend back to the dormitory from off-campus, as well as her involvement in theft and damaging others' property, Sarah was disciplined by the school and expelled. 3 months later, following the judgment of the relevant authorities, Sarah not only had to compensate us for all our losses but was also sentenced to 6 months in prison. After dealing with Sarah, Luna, Doris, and I did not remain idle during the more than half a year since our rebirth. We gathered evidence of the instructor's inspection fraud and her acceptance of bribes from classmates. We compiled this evidence into a booklet and anonymously mailed it to the school leadership. Soon, the school issued a disciplinary action against the instructor. Sarah's aunt was also officially dismissed from our university. After clearing out such a jinx, Luna, Doris, and I could finally begin our wonderful college years. Half a year later, Sarah was released. But it is said that she hadn't even enjoyed 2 days of peace before she was cornered in an alley by a group of thugs, stripped, photographed, and beaten up. The person who ordered the thugs was none other than the wife of Sarah's boyfriend. The boyfriend Sarah was dating was a married man. This man's wife is powerful and influential, but her job is quite demanding, often requiring her to travel for business. Taking advantage of this, the older man started seeing Sarah and even came to our school dormitory to fool around. Because of the incident half a year ago, some videos from the livestream were spread all over the internet. As a result, the identity of this older man was also exposed. And his wife, in particular, found out that Sarah had been cheating on her. To get back at Sarah, that woman waited a full 6 months. Until Sarah was released, the woman immediately hired a group of thugs. They took everything from Sarah, even filmed a video. Then, they gave Sarah a severe beating. Not only did they break one of her legs, but they also disfigured her face. After being disfigured, Sarah returned to the countryside. Because the countryside is more conservative, Sarah's previous actions made her parents feel deeply ashamed. Her parents directly arranged for Sarah to be married off. They forced her to marry a 50-year-old widower in the countryside. After getting married, Sarah tried to run away several times. Each time, her husband caught her and brought her back. The old widower broke Sarah's right leg again. With both legs disabled, Sarah could no longer walk. For the rest of her life, she would never be able to leave that rural village. She was trapped in that mountain village, giving birth to children again and again. And our counselor, who is Sarah's maternal aunt. After being expelled from our school, she went to work as a tutor at a cram school. However, because she secretly accepted bribes from parents and did not teach the students diligently, she was fired by several cram schools. In the end, she was even blacklisted from the entire industry. The last time we saw the counselor, she was actually begging under an overpass. I caught a distant glimpse and immediately turned to leave. All that she has today is entirely of her own making. I am not the giant Buddha, nor do I possess a heart of universal compassion. In the blink of an eye, the university years have completely passed. On the same day as in my previous life, Luna, Doris, and I once again received our graduate school admission notices. In this life, the three of us achieved even better results than before, which made us even happier. After all, given a second chance at life, we finally managed to change our own destinies. On the evening we received the admission notices, the three of us went out for a meal together. We shared a hot pot dinner, and each of us ordered a glass of lemon water. This time, the lemonade finally didn't have that pesticide taste. Instead, it was sweet and sour, just like our lives. Although it hasn't been smooth sailing, the aftertaste is always sweet. Many years later, I had long since graduated with a master's degree and stayed at the university to become a counselor. Another year of new students enrolling. Standing on the podium, I spoke to my students with powerful conviction. Classmates, first and foremost, pay attention to your personal hygiene. Secondly, regardless of where your household registration is or what your family background is, please do not let your identity hold you back. Having an urban household registration does not mean you live a prosperous life. Being a student from a poor family is not an excuse for unreasonable behavior. I only hope that everyone can work together, study hard, take care of your health, cherish your reputation, strive diligently, and not let down your youth or the wonderful 4 years of your university life.